Hi there. In this video we are going to talk about analytic accounting in Odoo. First, some key concepts. I would like to introduce three concepts here for this video. First, the concept of analytic account. We have seen before what a general ledger account was. Here it's slightly different in the sense that it will not contain general accounting entries, but rather analytic accounting entries. And what is typical to analytic account is that it's not something you are forced to create, or you don't need to respect a specific chart of account. You are quite free in the creation of your analytic accounts. So you won't be bound to legal constraints, and you can create your own chart with your own analytic account and change this chart whenever you want. A second concept I would like to introduce is the concept of analytic entries. Pretty much like you have journal entries in the general accounting, you have analytic entries in the analytic accounting. And those lines are usually created through the validations of Odoo's document, like invoices or like timesheets, or by creating these analytic entries manually. And that's the aggregate of all these analytic entries that will allow you to have an overview of the cost and the revenues of each analytic account. Then the last concept we'll see today is the concept of analytic tag. This will allow you to be a bit more precise about the nature of each analytic entry. It will allow you to have different axes for defining what the analytic entry exactly is. So let's dive now into the analytic account creation. We'll start first by creating an analytic account here, show where we can create these, and have a quick look at the different options you have on this analytic account. So let's dive into Odoo's analytic accounting. You may see that when you install the accounting, you won't see directly where the analytics can be found. In fact, you may have to check your settings, and here in the settings, ask and check here the analytic accounting checkbox. Once you have checked this box, you can click on apply, and then your page will be refreshed automatically, and you'll be able to see now various menu items related to analytic accounting. And you can see that now, as you have the chart of account here for the general ledgers account, you have here now the analytic account menu item that will show all of the analytic accounts currently existing in your database. At the moment, you can see that I have no analytic account existing yet. I'm going to create the first analytic account. And here I will name this one administration, and I will, in this analytic account, record all my administrative costs. I won't link it to a specific customer. I won't use the tags at the moment. I will use the tags later in this video. And I keep this analytic account active, so I save this account, and you can see that now I have my first account in my list. As you can see here, the list is rather flat, so you can have lots of different analytic accounts, but you won't have a parent or child relationship. Here all the accounts are at the same level, but this allows you to design also your charts the way you want it. And if you want to use maybe different notions or another axe in your analytic accounts, we will make use of the tags later. So here I want recording revenues in this specific analytic account. I want first to show how the entries will generate information in this analytic account, even though here I won't be comparing revenues and costs. I just want to track some administration costs at the moment. So let's record our first entry in this account. I'll go here in the purchases, and I will create a new invoice, and I will select the reason, and I will just say that here I spent some money for a cell phone subscription, and I will enter my administration analytic account. And you can see that here, now that I have activated the analytic accounting, I have now those two new columns in the invoice for my invoice lines. I will say here that it cost me something like $150. I keep the same taxes. We've seen that in a earlier video, and I will validate this invoice. And you'll see that as for the general accounting entries, the analytic accounting entries will be created at the same time. So it means that these will be created when I create and generate my general entry, this one. So now if I want to have a look at my analytic entry, I can right here in analytic accounts and check. Here we see that now we have some debit amount, which creates a negative balance. And I can see every line by going to cost and revenues. And here I can see that for February I had one entry. Of course, the information contained in this entry reflects what I had been encoding on my invoice. And you can see here a direct link to the move line that was created as well. Another way to have a look at the same information would be to go into Advisor and then click on Analytic Entries. And here you will see all the analytic entries. At the moment I have only one, but here if I had different analytic entries booked on different analytic accounts, I would see all of them, and I would be maybe filtering or regrouping information per analytic account, per user, per product eventually. So this can be done from here. We'll see that in a few minutes. So till now we have seen how we could create an analytic account. We created, well, generated an analytic entry from an invoice, and we saw how this was created in Odoo. Let's focus now on creating new analytic entries, but this time we will add a small level of, let's say, complexity. We will add some tags on the analytic entries. But before I create new tags, I would like to have a look at my analytic accounting and create a new analytic account. You know where to go to create a new analytic account by now. I will create here my a new account for the conception and design of one of my new products. Let's say it's for a specific client. It will help me find the correct analytic account later, and I will save this analytic account, and then, although I could create new tags from here by clicking on tags and click on create and edit, I will create this right from my invoice, and you'll see it works perfectly. I save my analytic account here, and I will create a new vendor bill for entering data into this new account. I will book some stuff at Amazon. Let's say here I will buy some Raspberry Pi. I will link this to my new analytic account that's here, and I will say that now it was used for my first team, for my second team maybe that was will be using this Raspberry because they are going to create that first minimum viable product for that specific client, and let's say about 4 of them. And I will book also some specific cables for the same analytic account and for the same team as well. But I'll also then add a last item, and maybe not specifically a product. I could say, well, I won't be buying lots of tablets, so let's say that here I don't want to create it as a product in my backend, and I'm going to say, well, I'm buying this tablet, and this one, it will be for my first team, and I will create, well, team 1 and team 1, and they will be in charge of sketching a solution. And so you can see that here I created the analytic tags along with my invoice lines, and this goes just fine. I will here put, let's say, something like this. Oops. Okay, so this would be my Amazon bill. I validate this, and let's imagine that I also had another vendor bill from another vendor. I ordered a specific survey to this vendor just because I need to know some basic information about the product I want to design. and those guys are quite good at giving some results for surveys, conducting surveys and giving results. I validate this invoice as well. And now if we have a look at the information in the analytic accounting, we can go to advisor, check my analytic accounts here, and you'll see that here in my XPY product analytic account, I have already lots of information there. If I click on cost and revenues, you'll see that for February I have 4 different entries. Of course, you don't see it right now. You cannot see here in the list view the information about the tags, but you can filter on that. So if you are interested about all the entries related to the team 1, you can look for tag team 1, and here you see that you have 2 entries, while if you look for team 2, which was also called the MVP team, then you have 2 other entries, and you can check here how the costs have been split on the different teams on the same analytic account. Well, here in my example, I just said that I wanted to have one analytic account for a specific project. Then some of the expenses will be split among 2 different teams, but it could be different axes. Here, that's just the example I gave, but you can of course have different natures and different destinations for your analytic accounting, and use different kind of tags or use different kind of analytic accounts and structure it the way we want. Now, if I want to have a look at all the information combined, I can also go here into Advisor, click on Analytic Entries, and here you can see that you have the information not only for the XPY product analytic account, but you also have information on my admin account. And of course, you have group by capabilities. By default in Odoo, you can see that here it works perfectly fine, but of course, you may expect to have a bit more information here. It's just that I created and validated 2 or 3 different invoices, but of course you would have more than just 5 entries in your analytic accounting after a few days. Before we end this video, I would like to add a few more things. The first of which is I'll explain in one of the next videos how we can make a link between the analytic accounting and the project management. It was not especially the topic of this video, so we'll see that later. And you'll see also how you can track the time spent on a specific task or a group of tasks in relationship with the analytic account linked to that task. We'll see also how you can reinvoice the time spent. It will be the topic of the next video. And the last thing I would like to see today in this video is how we can create a manual analytic entry. Because we have seen here that we created an analytic entry through invoices, mainly here, well, uniquely through purchase invoices, but of course you can also here, by clicking on the create button, create your own analytic entries. It can come in handy when you, let's say, start on Odoo and you have information you would like to import from your legacy system, or if, let's say, you forgot to link an analytic account to an invoice line when you booked your invoice. Here it's always possible to create an analytic entry from scratch. So let's create it here. Let's say that before you started using Odoo, you had an invoice from another vendor and you bought a desktop, and it was for the administration analytic account. You can eventually put the invoice that you received from your vendor, just a reference so that you know where it's coming from, and then you can as well select a product. Here I will select miscellaneous so that it will select the financial account. I just bought one, and the amount here was a bit more than this. And if you save here, it will of course create this new analytic entry here, with the difference that it was not created from a purchase invoice. Well, maybe it is linked to a purchase invoice, but it's not technically linked to a document in Odoo. It's just something that is here created manually, but it is still in your analytic accounting. So this was the first video about analytic accounting. I hope you enjoyed. The next one will also be about analytic accounting, but we'll go a bit deeper into the topic.